Okay, so you were explaining what all the little marks are?
Yeah, so this is a culmination of everything we've heard in this planning process so far, as well as the 2016 plan and the 2006 plan. So the red stars are places that the community has said they'd like to be able to walk to or ride their bike to. The orange are routes they've identified as potential ways to do it, either a trail or a sidewalk or a bike lane or some combination thereof. We're asking now, do you feel like there's anything missing? And if the city were to start somewhere, to start building connections, where should they start? Is it filling in the gaps downtown and making a little loop between HEB and Market Plots and the old middle school? Is it going out to Fort Martin Scott? Or, where should the city start? What's most important?
So in today's news feature for KNAF, we'll be meeting with Anna Hudson, Interim Director of Development Services and Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Fredericksburg. Anna, the city seems to be really wanting input from citizens in this comprehensive plan update. They're everything from open houses to surveys, even an online link to the plan for people to look up. Why is it important for Fredericksburg's residents and businesses to get involved in developing the comprehensive plan?
Well, the comprehensive plan is, like the name says, it's comprehensive. It's all inclusive, thinking about where do we want our roads, where do we want neighborhoods, where do we want businesses, and how do we want to grow in the future. And also specifically parks. As part of this plan, we're also doing a parks master plan. And so this is the big look, and it's a very futuristic look, not just thinking about today, but the future. And the current one we have is from 2006, and it's served us well, but it's a bit dated. And so there are things in it that we've reached beyond, right? Short-term rental, that term didn't exist in 2006. There were no charging stations in 2006. So we're far beyond, we've exceeded what they could have foreseen in 2006. So now we've got to take that same long-term view as we're such a popular place, not just for tourists, but for people to relocate. And so where do we want that growth? What do we want to protect? And so it's very important that we hear from the community, from young kids to retirees. We need to think about everybody, right? Because truly we are planning for the next generation. And so
that's true. From 2006 to now is literally almost a generation.
Full generation, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So the particular part of the plan that we're going to talk about in this particular explainer is the Parks Master Plan. What types of things are included in the Parks Master Plan?
So in the Parks Master Plan, we obviously work with consultants. We're working with Half Associates, and they come in and kind of do an analysis for us. What do we have, the facilities, and kind of give them a grade, and give us, so we do an inventory of all the facilities and do a needs assessment, identify, which parks need what kind of work or maintenance or more improvements or new types of facilities and activities, and give us an idea of what to do for the future as far as what people want as well. And so that's where the community input comes in. It's very important to let us know what we need to be planning for. And our Parks Master Plan is from 2016, which isn't that old, but you know what it doesn't say one time? Pickleball. No pickleball in 2016. So again, it's just time to...
I really liked how your solution, because it was very solutions oriented, was making it a bigger option for people in that it wasn't one or the other. They could go to that court, and now they could either do pickleball or they could do tennis. They have that option to expand their exercise options. Yeah. It's not one or the other. And I thought, that's just brilliant. You didn't have to choose. You could do both. And that's part of what comes out of these is seeing ahead to what sports might be people are engaged in. And, everything from, is this kind of where they might talk about accessibility of all different kinds, the types of parks they might want to see, community gardens, walking trails? Is that
absolutely? Yes, this is definitely the time and the place to be thinking about those things. Accessibility, the new Market Plots playground is far more accessible than the sand that was there before. Again, so as times change, we just need to keep up with it and try to be more inclusive in everything that we do for all ages and abilities. And so this is definitely the place to physically look at a map, point on it, and write on it, and then thinking just long term.
Is there a geographic sort of space in your heads that you are looking at and that the city residents are looking at in terms of where you can expand out or expand within for parks, like more parks in neighborhoods or parks maybe expanding outwards a little bit or changing the parks up? Is that kind of what you're also looking at?
I think that's part of it. As we grow, as the city limits grow and we build new neighborhoods, where we want those neighborhoods. So the city actually divides the town by north and south for the parks plan, north of Main Street, south of Main Street. And so right now, if we have a neighborhood come in and they do a development and create so many lots, they pay a fee, a parks dedication fee. And then we divvy that up in an account for south and north. So those funds can go specifically for parks on that side of town. But yes, as we grow and thinking about how do we get more parks. Oftentimes it's land that the city's purchased or has been donated. But parks are a lot of maintenance. Sometimes people will think, well, we'll just do a little 1 acre park in this neighborhood. Well, that's more maintenance facility, more personnel and equipment that the city then has to continue to put in the operating budget. But in the planning process, we definitely want to think big, think long, idealistic, and then the realities of budgets will come later. But at this point, it's definitely dream big. Maybe I think of other parks I visited with my young kids and wow, this is great. Wish we could have that in Fredericksburg. And maybe there'd be a really good place over here for that, So thinking about specific amenities, and locations around town, because obviously Lady Bird's a very large park with a lot of uses, but it is on the south side of town and not adjacent to any neighborhoods, right? No one can walk to Lady Bird Park.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. Walkability is one of the big
Huge.
buzzwords for the coming century, and it's true. It's lovely being able to walk to your neighborhood park or to your grocery store, your little convenience store that's near where you are. Those are all important things as you think going forward.
That's the charm of Fredericksburg, is the walkability.
Okay.
That's why people come here, is our downtown is walkable. You can stay in a house that's 3 blocks from Main Street, and HEB is only 4 blocks from Main Street. And so walkability is key to our charm and our success, why people want to be here and stay here. So yes, walkability and connectivity. We think about transportation planning and we think about cars. Transportation is cars and trucks. Well, transportation's bikes and walking and maybe we won't say e-scooters, but other modes of mobility.
Well, and I love that you're making the Mark Plotz area more accessible as well, because that expands it for everyone to be able to come and enjoy the walkability also as the wheelability of different areas. And that's also something to think about in terms of parks planning as people do it. So how can people be a part of this process? What are the things that you have set up so that people can communicate with you? And what are you hoping to get from them from that communication?
So right now we do have a new survey up. We had a community survey open a couple months ago, and we got 1,100 respondents from that. And that was an in-depth, that was about a 22 question survey, and lots of questions, and we got lots of answers, and we were very thrilled to get 1,100 responses.
Fantastic.
Because it's about 10% of our population, and our consultants are 1% is usual, typical for city or towns of different sizes. So we're very pleased with 10%. That was a little bit more of a skewed, it wasn't over 55 was the majority of the responses, which is great. But we are making a little bit more of a stronger push to get younger families. And so we had the Touch a Truck event a couple weeks ago, which is my favorite event. I love it as an employee of the city, getting to be there and interact with people, and especially the kids, and then as a parent to see my kids and how much they enjoy it. It's a great event. But we did get to interact with a lot of families, and at that first event we got 80 people to respond. There were 80 respondents from that one event. So we know
That's
that was
fantastic.
a good way of reaching the
Yes.
younger audience, because we know it's hard. If you've got kids and working, you've got very little time. But we do know that these are important things to you, right? These are amenities that people want and people need. So we want to hear how we can make them better.
So this current survey that you're going to have open, you said till May 5th, that's just 7 questions?
It's 7 questions, very specific to parks, yes.
That's exciting. And so what are the kinds of things that they'll be able to answer on those, on the survey?
There's a few that are specific to like ranking what's the most important, amenity or service, what are we missing? And then there's some more open-ended questions. We have, so far, trails have been a top priority, and from the 2016 master plan, trails were very important then. We think about, I came from San Antonio. Everybody thinks of San Antonio on the Riverwalk, right?
Yes.
The best trail in Texas. But expanding those trails, right? So in San Antonio, they've got a river, and you've got more the public domain. It's easier to acquire. Here we have creeks, right, which are privately owned. Property lines can go across a creek, unlike a river, and so it's harder to acquire and connect those dots. We do have a trails plan on the books, but it's harder to, again, get access, right? Because you truly are sometimes in somebody's backyard. So it's a balancing act, but the trails, going back to the connectivity and the walkability, are huge, and people just want to be able to get out and exercise, and maybe driving all the way across town to Lady Bird isn't super convenient.
And when you're in a tourist town, necessarily walking at certain times of the day, even in the neighborhoods, doesn't really feel very safe when you've got all of these people who don't know how to drive in a small town, knowing that you're out there with your puppy or your
right.
person. So that does make a lot of sense. That sounds so exciting that they really want, that the city wants everyone so engaged in this process, and that's literally a generational project. So what are the ways that they can communicate? There's the survey.
The survey's up now, and we have a FBGTX is the city's website, fbgtx.org, and if you go there, we have a special micro page for the comp plan, the comprehensive plan, and there you can see the old comp plan, the current comp plan, pretty much all the documents that the city uses for these types of issues, and you can see there's a link to the survey, and also sorry, you can click there and there's a comment page, so you can directly send a comment or an email, and those come to me, and then we are categorizing them and keeping track of all the comments that we get. So we do have a specific email address just for the comp plan 23 at fbgtx.org. And so, yeah, we're definitely collecting information, and very soon, though, we will be at the point where we've heard from you. Now we're going to tell you that and see if we heard correctly, right? So at the next open house, that'll be April 25th over at Pioneer Pavilion in Lady Bird Park. That'll be our second open house to say, okay, this is what we're hearing. Is this accurate? And then start thinking about ways of implementing those things. Okay, so if we want trails, well, how do you get them? How do you acquire the land? How do you funding? So then we have to start thinking a little bit more on the technical side, on our side.
That makes perfect sense. So the key dates coming up are for the open house are
April 25th,
and then May 5th for the last day for this particular survey. And then I think there's also, it's really neat, you're having a number of town halls that talk in different neighborhoods about all different kinds of topics, and so if somebody is going to one of those, they can bring up the parks questions that they have there as well. And I think there's one coming up, you mentioned April 13th
is the next town hall, and that is a new initiative from our new city manager Clinton Bailey to really get out in the neighborhood. Neighborhoods can have specific issues that we can sometimes address, and then of course there's reoccurring themes that we hear all over town, but these were really meant to be just come to your neighbor's house. And so thus far we've had neighbors host and have their neighbors over, some that they know and some they're meeting for the first time. So the next one will be the 13th at 6 o'clock, and we've divided up the town. I think there's 27 neighborhoods that we've kind of created on this map, and that we'll be going around to, trying to do 2 a month. That's not always possible, but and those are very generic. You can bring, the city will usually do a short presentation on kind of, here's what we're doing, recent activities in the city, and then go around and literally let everybody speak that wants to speak. And sometimes it's like the four-way stop that's just now at Cherry and Travis Street.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that came up from a neighborhood town hall meeting, and
And look
city
how
said,
quick
you
the
know
change
what?
was that. That's wonderful. I love
Yeah.
that there's a four-way stop there, actually. I drive on that one all the time.
I
And I'm
bet
like,
you
this
do.
is so nice. I don't have to try to figure it out.
You don't feel so, yeah,
Yeah.
like everybody's
It's like, oh,
stopping.
yeah.
So those are the things that, the people in the neighborhood know the immediate concerns. And sometimes it's something that's simple, quick to fix, and other things are larger. But we track all of those, and those action items go out after the meeting and assigned to the right person. So, and it's just a great opportunity to do face-to-face interaction. City government is where things happen.
Mm-hmm.
You have the most impact at the local level. We also have an election coming up May 6th.
That's true.
And so the people on the council are truly making the decisions. Staff implements what we're told to do. So the comp plan will ultimately be adopted by the council that's elected on May 6th.
Oh wow! So it
it's only
all
two
comes
positions.
together. Yeah, but still,
Yeah.
it all comes together of being engaged. One of my favorite things is sort of the grassroots local city politics, because it's where it all happens that affects you the most. That's where the things that affect you the most are happening at the city and county level, and in the regional levels is where a lot of that happens. So this is exciting. Is there anything that I haven't asked you want to make sure people know about coming up related to the Parks Master Plan, or anything else, or do we touch on what we wanted to touch on?
I think we covered it. Just get involved if it's something as simple as a seven question survey that you can answer. If you've got big ideas, let us know. You can email those in, or come to the actual events and interact with us. Or, anybody can speak at City Council. We have, public, if there's an agenda item you want to talk about, welcome. We want public input from a variety of different sources. So
Excellent. Well, and we'll have links to the survey and to the city's comprehensive master plan link, as well as other information on the Facebook posting that's going to come out of this, as well as when we eventually get it up onto YouTube as well. So hopefully we'll have multiple ways for be able to connect and get engaged in that. So thank you so much for being here today,
Thank
Anna.
you.
This was wonderful. Thank you.